Hey everyone, I am streaming and doing some stuff tonight on Service Portal, just continuing the series that we've been working on. And well, I say continuing the series, it's been a very short series so far, but today I'm just interested in doing some portal stuff. You might not believe it, but I haven't actually ever got around to doing that with charts. So that's what we're going to do today. Have a look at some charts, Chart.js in particular, because that's the one that's packaged with ServiceNow. So we can basically make use of that and put that into an app and see how we go from there. Obviously, there are other charting platforms and things that you can use. I know Travis Tilson's done a good one on Code Creative on Hype charts, and there's a few others out there as well. So this is just diving into looking at Chart.js in particular. Thanks very much. Cool, so let's put some stuff out. All right, so we're back into looking at basically continuing our testing center thing that we were looking at last time, and we've got just figure out where to start really. So we're going to look at Chart.js, just get some stuff set up here in the background as well. So it seems it's pretty straightforward. I think what I'm interested in doing at the moment is just figuring out how to add that. And I know obviously there is some stuff that we can go and look at in terms of basically figuring out, basically using what other people have done in the past. But I'm not interested in doing that today because I want to kind of figure it out for myself, see how it works, and go from there in terms of building something and learning, basically. That's what all this is about, it's just learning. So let's dive in. So I think the first thing we can do, latest Chart.js is 2.8 here. So I'm going to pull that in and we're going to go from there. So what I'm going to do is come back to my widgets that we were working on last time. Bear with me a second. So, widget. Would you believe I can't remember what I called it? Test dashboard, there we go. It's funny. Okay. So right here, we can just chuck that straight into the top and go from there. Normally I put in the security stuff on these, but this one doesn't have it, so fine. Just sync that up, come back over here. And then if we jump into, I'm not a fan of it up there personally, but have a look at this. CJS, deliver, lovely. So we've got Chart.js coming in now. That's great. Okay. So I think the first thing we need is some data that we want to render. Probably the easiest thing actually is just having a crack at using this this example here, and we can then go from there and actually try and apply that to some data that we've got. So let's have a look at this. I think I might just stay on this page and we'll put something at the top and go from there, just to be quick basically. So all processes is here. So I want to cut underneath that really. Let's add a new row in and add a new column. I think let's just go for extra small, we're probably going to say is 12, but otherwise it's going to be 4, maybe 6 on a small. This is way overkill, but might as well do it for now. That's actually JavaScript, so I don't need that right now. We just want that canvas in there, so we can chuck the canvas straight onto the form. There's my chart. Let's leave it called that for now. Let's save that, and then come over here to the client script, and let's go and put this in here. So there's our loading function. Let's add a new function down the bottom for loading our charts, so they're all in one place. And then we can just throw our code into here and throw this in there. So once we've done the update, content loaded, let's load the chart after that. I think in theory that should be enough. So we've got our canvas with my chart, we've got our code, load the chart, and we get the chart. Should be good. Let's upload that. Hello, viewer. One of the things I like about doing this is actually having conversations. So if you want to chat, I've got the chat on the right hand side here. You can't see it, but I can. And I'll talk to you if I can. Look at that. How easy was that? Literally 2 or 3 minutes in, and there we go. So that's a nice little chart there. So let's see. I presume this scales as well. So if we change the size of this in here, we change that to a 12, for example. Look at that. Yeah, that's the great thing about Canvas is, of course, it's designed for drawing on it. So the JavaScript does all the drawing and then renders it all for you. Really nice. So the next thing I want to do then is I actually want to figure out doing a donut chart. So I'm pretty sure it's just to do with this. So let's go and have a quick look at the documentation. Okay. So look at donuts. My pie chart, type donut. We're spelling it not the American way, we're spelling it the original way. D-O-U-G-H. So would this even work with this data set? I suspect it might be a little bit strange, but let's have a crack. Look at that, straight away, straight in there. So that's interesting. At the moment, all of these are the same color. That'll be an interesting thing to change. So how do we set the colors on here? We've got okay. The style of each art can be controlled with background color, border width, and weight. That's nice. So how do we actually apply that to the... It's up here in this data. I'm not going to read this out because you're watching, you can read as well. So how do I, this is all very well seeing this, but how does this apply? How do I actually apply this to an individual point? There's my data sets. Okay, the data points should be a number. So have I just broken it by applying that one? Let's undo this. So let's do some new functions for these. And then we can just basically build the differences and go from there. So let's call this a line chart. And call that a line chart. And then we can just duplicate this. We've got 3 spaces in here. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that because I think having a 6 is nice. We'll create a donut chart in there as well. I'm going to cheat the naming there. And then what we can do here is just do line chart, donut chart. The data sets is an array, but obviously, okay, what? That's interesting. So the data is, we've got different data sets. That's quite cool. Oh, so you always have different data sets, and then you've got different types of data that you can put inside. 10, 20, 30. So obviously, so these do add up to they don't add up to 100 at the moment, but do they need to? No, it's going to work out as a percentage, isn't it? So of course they don't have to add up to 100. That doesn't make any sense. So what we need to do then is just figure out how we can change each individual point there. RTFM right now, so there's a number of properties specified for each data set. You can set kind of the overall thing, and then the style of each arc we controlled with the following properties. How? Am I missing something? All these values, if undefined, fall back to the associated elements arc. So, but data is a number array. I think I'm gonna have to have a look at the code on this page to figure out how they're actually doing it. So this is actually the dataset properties. Okay, so this is actually defining the dataset properties as it is. So is it multiple data sets on these? Is that what's going on here? Chart is new chart, data is data. Go and have a look at what it's doing. Excuse me. Starting a bit later tonight, so okay. iframe me. Oh, it's just right underneath it, okay. Type is donut. Data labels red, blue, yellow. Data sets. Background. So the background color actually gets applied as an array. Okay. Did I just miss that, or is that not clear? Yeah, it doesn't actually tell you that it's an array. Okay. Got it. So everything's an array in here, and you can specify, or presumably you can't. Let's have a go then, shall we? So background color is there. We've got our line chart. Donut chart. And donut. Data sets. Let's just confirm this. So data. It's the same as, so it's actually this. So here we've got that. We can actually choose different colors in here. If I do tomato, navy, I don't know what other things are in here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See what that does. Nothing. Get context of null. Okay. Maybe I didn't save it. No, didn't save it. Whoa, that is a psychedelic thing going on there, isn't it? Okay, so great. So we figured that out. That's nice. I mean, that is ugly as anything, but... Well, tell me, do you like this? Do you like these colours? We do some graphic design there. What's interesting about the donut is it doesn't actually show... So it's obviously just... It's not for overlaying multiple data sets, as it is in this case. If we have a look at our code here, we've got an actual label for the data set and it's not displaying that. So I wonder, let's give this a go then and see what happens if we put 2 data sets on it. But let's just chuck that over the top. It has the old second data set. Let's drop the red down to 120. Don't know what that's even going to look like, but less red, pink. Whoa, okay. So it does, you can stack the data sets on these. I don't know when I'd need to do that, but that's interesting. So if you're correlating, data from the same 2 different data sets, but along the same axis, then you can show them on the same pie chart. How crazy can we get with this? Should we have a look? And that purple as well, I mean, could I have come up with a worse purple there? Let's do another one. My 3rd data set. And let's get the border color here. Just go with the... trying to think. It's a decent or a not so rubbish color. Let's go for 494949. It's kind of a. What's interesting with this is, of course, it's obviously not very useful just applying it to all the stuff. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess, but and you can't see the delineation. It's a bit. It doesn't make much sense. Yes. Okay, so that's interesting. So if you can keep the same color, but if you had a different border color, then it kind of works. Cool. Man, you could really go to town on this, couldn't you? How many can we add to this? Oh. Just go crazy. And my computer melts down. We've got there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got 10 there, I think. Just for fun. Whoa! This is where you can do some cool animations, eh? Nice. Bear with me a second. Okay, and that's great. So I think, so let's see how we can, so applying this to the integration tests, we wanted a nice little, we could do something nice with the parse here, can we? What would be interesting actually is, can we get a number in here? Do it like a gauge essentially. Okay, you can do lots of different stuff with this. You can even do on clicks on labels. Oh, that's the legend, okay. Let's have a look at the interactions. So the hover configuration is passed into the hover namespace. Okay. Called if the event of type mouse up or click. Called in the event context of chart. Potentially you could click on something. So what that might be quite nice actually. So anyway, we can come back to that, I think. So in terms of what we want to do with this, I think let's do a pass rate. So this is just a very nice simple number. We've got a pass rate, so we can basically, I don't think we need this. I can get rid of this. That is horrible, but good fun. So as we're loading the form, I know there's an Angular chart plugin essentially that you can get on. I think it's available on GitHub. Hasn't been updated since 2016 though, so it might still be worth you checking out. But I'm not going to go into that today. But presumably, obviously, well, that's creating directives essentially, and using those directives, we can put those into where they need to go, and then obviously Angular is going to then render and allow us to load the charts in real time using Angular. So we're not trying to fight with when Angular's actually loaded something. It's just going to work. So just think. Do I want to create a directive to do this? Not really right now. It's easy enough, actually. It's going to be easy enough to just put the code into here. So when it renders, it's just going to, it's not ideal, but we can just, Angular can basically use that. So if we get rid of, well, let's leave that there for now. Just double check what this looks like. So past 0. So if we wanted this to be a gauge, all over the place now. That's good. Not. That's past. This is where I want to be. So we can do our canvas. ID. So there's an index in here, so we can basically do, well, we could actually just do the process sysID. So I don't even know if we need to do that. It's not necessarily necessary. Let's figure out. So gauge or pass gauge. And then I think that's all we need, isn't it? It's just a canvas with an ID. Yeah. And then we can just do a script underneath. It says new. Oh. Wrap it so we're staying out of global scope. And we just take our context. So we need our context and we need our chart. So if I just copy, well, let's copy our donut. This is not ideal. I wouldn't normally do this, but in the interest of prototyping and figuring out how we're going to do stuff, this makes sense. Now I can just copy this. Obviously, this is going to get generated. Be interesting to see how this works, actually. Donut data is going to be, I don't need any labels at all. Data sets is just one data set. Maybe I do just want one label. No, I want two labels, don't I? Because I want past and not past. And then this is pass rate. I don't think this makes any difference on here. So I think for this background color, we'll just do green. I'm sure there's others that are going to be better. And then tomato for that. I'm going to skip the border color for now. Let's just leave that out. And then the data is going to be pass. Oh. Process dot pass rate, isn't it? And then there's actually, because it's 100, we need to divide it. Well, it's gonna be out of 100, isn't it? So let's see if that works. Why is that pink? have I missed? Probably because it's invalid JavaScript. Yeah, that works. Nope, chart is not defined. Interesting. Yeah, and these haven't actually processed properly, so to be expected. So what we can do with these is a slightly different technique, which is ng on load equals load gauge, load pass gauge. Don't actually like this name necessarily, but I feel like I'm spelling that wrong. That's definitely not UA. And then we can pass in the process.sysid. We can take what we've done here. In fact, let's just pass in the process. Get rid of that, save, and then we can do. We don't have scope in here, I don't think so. Oh yes, we do. Scope.load pass gauge. All right. That sounded really funny. All right. Okay. So now we can just move this into our controller, and then this should have the context. And obviously, because it's working with Angular itself, it's not going to run by, because at the moment when we're loading this is failing because the script is still being seen by the browser. So the script's trying to run it, nothing's being loaded properly, and as you can see here, it's got a global eval. That's not going to work properly at all. And then we've got that in there, so we'll move this to the controller. The controller, this ng on load. I can't remember if it's on load or ng load. We'll try this, and we might have to figure that out. But essentially, when Angular renders this, then we'll see what this looks like, and if that works. And I think that should be fine. So we don't want that in there. Ooh, excuse me. Yawning on camera, that's never good, is it? I'm only human. So we've got the pass rate, which might be 96, and then we've got 100 minus 96, which will give us 4. So we'll have 100, we'll have 96 and 4, which makes 100. Let's see what that looks like. I'm expecting it not to show anything. Okay, so at least it's rendering now. We haven't got any errors. But obviously, I say rendering loosely. So the canvas is there. Okay, the ID's worked, but that hasn't worked. So let's see why that hasn't worked. Ah, see. Okay. So you can't. I haven't got AngularJS in here at the moment. On a slightly different, on a different user, it doesn't have that. Okay. Never mind. I think what I might try is just making this ID ng attribute ID, because it might be that it's not finding the ID at all. Although I would expect it to throw an error, so it's probably actually ng on load, isn't it? It's ng-init. There you go. This is one of the things, being a programmer, you never remember, well, I certainly don't, I never remember everything. But I remember enough about the logic of what can be done. So even though I don't remember exactly what that was, it took me 5 seconds to go and figure out, oh yeah, that's what it is. You know, I don't think anyone ever learns everything there. Well, you can learn everything, but holding that in your head takes up a lot of space. So you sort of remember what you can on the most part, and then when you remember that you can do something, but can't quite remember how to do it, you just do a quick Google search and figure it out. Right, okay, so that's interesting. So the ID, so that's worked. So we got the ng attribute ID, which has generated this properly. ng-init has worked, but it's not, okay, cannot read property get context. So what we need to do now is, this is being run as this canvas is being generated. So the best thing to do now is actually say, this basically needs to move to a timeout. So the Angular is rendering this. The element hasn't actually been put into the DOM yet, so there isn't. So we can't get this. What might be interesting to do actually is let's do angular.getElement. Is it forgotten now, isn't it? Angular. Yeah, it's just angular.element. Yeah. I'm not going crazy. But let's go and try this in the back end first, and then we can just verify. Okay, so that's found that canvas. So that definitely works. So what will be interesting to see here is if it has a slightly different timing to it. And if it doesn't, what we'll just have to do is just do a timeout, or something along those lines. There you go. So get context is not a function. That's obviously only on the browser level. So let's add timeout to our controller, and then we can just do, let's add another function here. So function be lazy for the time being. And that is where all of this stuff is going to go. And then in here, we can do function. And we can shift all of this into this function here. So what we're doing here is basically saying, so the timeout is going to run after, it's going to run on the next Angular kind of process run. So we're going to call load pass gauge in this, can't remember what the word is. It's not a thread, but it's basically this pass, this cycle. So Angular is running through this cycle, looping through the page, rendering everything. And in this render cycle, we're not actually able to get that element off the DOM. So by doing a timeout, that will then chuck it to the end of the queue, which Angular will pick up on the next cycle, and then call this, and then the DOM will have been, excuse me, will be rendered by that point. So in theory, that should work fine. there we go. Lovely. So that worked, as you can see. It's great. I don't like these labels. Not past 6.799. You might want to do some math there, rounding. But actually, what? Oh, so we've got a percentage here, but actually, the percentage is kind of, you can tell the percentage from this. So what we actually want to do is pass in the actual pass counts, the pass and fail counts. So let's see what we've got on our being generated. So we've got the pass rate, and this is at the process level, isn't it? So we've got multiple integrations in here, and we're totaling up the number of pass and fails. So the total pass rate is this. So what we can do now is actually just say, we've got the pass rate being set, and we've got the spec count there. So we're going looping through each of the tests, finding the integration that test belongs to. If the test is active, we're saying it's an active test, and then we're finding the last result. And then we're going to calculate the number of specs and the pass rate. And the pass rate is calculated up here. So with passed and total. There's our total. So actually what we want to do is just duplicate this and integration dot passed. And I think total pass rate is the sum of all these pass rates. We needed to do that because we were dividing. So I think here we can just do so we can modify this basically now. So the pass count is now being calculated. So we've got, do we have the total on? Yeah, so it's going to be pass count over spec count. So if we come back into here, so we've got pass rate, so we can do process.pass count and process.spec count minus process.pass count. So now we're going to get the actual numbers that passed. Not past 162. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So in this case, there's no data, so it's just saying there's nothing there to show. So at the moment, pass count is not working by the looks of it. Oh, I'm not setting it, am I? So it's going to be not a number. So the integration dot spec count, integration dot pass count. Just need to set up my process as well. Because then we're doing plus equals on that. So Hey. Hey, Phil. Good to have you, man. I've just looked over and I've now got 3 viewers. I think I've had 1 for about an hour. Oh, maybe not that long. 45 minutes. So I'm diving into charts in ServiceNow, continuing the testing stuff from last week. I haven't had a chance to do any more on this since then, unfortunately. So nothing's really moved along, but just playing around with charts and getting used to them, because actually I haven't actually worked with charts in Portal before, not from a sort of first start perspective. We're using Chart.js, just running through the latest version of that. Chucked it in, did some demoing. Yeah. that probably is the case as well, yeah. I'm the only viewer of my own feed. That's fine. So anyway, so we've just converted this. So we've got past 898, not past 134. That is fantastic. And I think I can just get rid of this because it's irrelevant. So I want to hide the labels now. I don't know if do I just not even provide the label? Does that hide it? Just get rid of that. Yeah, just following on from last week. Pretty much. I wanted to do some chart stuff this week, so that's great. So we've got a nice little donut there now. Don't hate me on the colours, but yeah. So just continuing with this a little bit, and that's great. So I've got a proper use case now to look into this. So I think what might be nice next is, do we want active integrations? Would you want that as a pie chart? Maybe. So with these cards here, this might be nice as well. Put that on there. And then basically, if you can look at all your processes, or all your integrations, and then just have the main one of these on it, and just show you. Oh, we've got undefined now. Interesting. Ah, okay. So because it's so I need the labels, but I need to just hide them from there. How do I turn off the labels on the chart itself? Is it options or something? Configuration, legend. Okay. So is it options, legend, display? I'm having a guess at this. I think that's fine. Let's get rid of that, and I can get rid of my test canvas as well from the start. We just started out by chucking a couple of charts on top. I might want to keep them actually. Maybe that's useful to have a global thing when you come onto the top here. What's your overall spec? That might be quite nice. Just decide what sort of chart I want as that. It's always interesting to me looking at sort of data sets and then figuring out what's the best way to present this. So you can put pretty much any data set in any chart, but is it useful? Not necessarily. And I am definitely not a reporting expert or chart expert by any stretch, but I think, as with everyone, you always know when something looks wrong, so definitely wouldn't want a line chart. Don't think I'd want a bar chart, because you want a percentage you're doing, it probably is just that. Just stick with a donut. I don't need to cover area. Not bubble. You could do a sort of stacked bar chart with the number that have passed, the number that have failed. Anyway, so we've got our active integrations. I think let's have a look. We've only got 1, 1, 1, 1. This will be a funny one to look at with the 14 different pie bar, whatever charts. It'd be nice to have this as a 0 as well. So I'm guessing, so we haven't got any data being generated here, so it'd be good to have. Maybe that's one for another time. Thinking. Let's just do what's in front of me right now. So I know, let's put that onto this. So we're going to copy. We haven't got, we're not using directives on this or anything, so we're just using standard, just a canvas, and then we're doing an ng init to load the data in there. I think what I might, it should still work with this actually, because we've got the same format. I think we might have to check, but if I could use the same function to generate the gauge and just make sure whether it's a process or an integration, it's got the data that the gauge needs to render. We come down to here. I think we can get rid of all of that. So I don't really care if it's REST or JSON. Don't care. Do I care how many integration tests it's got? Possibly. The integration test is the number of tests that's run. That's the number of integration tests. And then I basically need to total these up. Maybe that is a different thing altogether, but so it would be 3. I just have to sum up the totals, the 33 plus 129, and then look at how many failed, or basically passed, and work out the number there to be showing. So I think I can get rid of all of this. I might just comment that out for now. If you do comment out your code, don't leave it in there when you release to production, because when you're developing, this is handy if you come back to it. If you release this and come back to it, it just confuses things. That's my opinion anyway. So we're generating our ID, and obviously that's always unique because we're using the sysid. We can pass the integration in there. Now I think when we're rendering it, we want so this can actually just be, what is this? It's probably a data set or something. So process and integration in the context of this function is just going to be a data set. It could be a record, but is it really tied to a record? We've got the pass count, we've got the spec count. So what I need to make sure now is in this, I am updating I'm getting the last result. So for each test, see, this is the difference. So, okay, I need to make these pluses because for each test, I could have multiple tests. So I need to update these. So the pass rate, again here, the pass rate is going to be wrong. I think I need to, the pass rate I don't even want to calculate because it's, it's almost irrelevant. No, I don't think I'm rendering that. No, I'm not. So we can get rid of that. Get rid of that. If you remember, when I was building this, I wasn't sure whether to do the pass rate in here or do it in the UI. Well, now I think it is actually clear it needs to be done in the UI because it just removes all of the complication. It's a very simple mathematical equation, essentially, just to say one number divided by another gives me a percentage. There's no reason for me to have all this excess code in here. So I'm just going to rip it all out now. I'm not even going to bother with that. I might keep that in just because that's got some code in there that's easy. Will save me a little bit of time if I want to redo that. And that should be fine then. So I'm always adding up the pass count and the spec count. And then the test result. So one problem here is that I've got the test result has different values. You know, we're calling it spec count on the integration because the integration has a number of tests being run. Whereas for the test itself, it's always just called the total. But what that means is that I can't then use a single function to render the process, you know, the gauge on the process, the gauge on the integration, and the gauge on the test result itself. I'd have to have a different gauge for the test result itself. So what I might want to do is actually come back and just rename these so that I've got a single point of reference essentially for what the properties are. But the problem is that spec count, calling it integration.total is not, there's no context on that. That doesn't actually make any sense. You know, what's the integration.total of what? Whereas total has context when it's in the result. It's the total number of tests in that result. Fun. Anyway, let's go and see if this works. And it does. Great. I might want to add something back in there just to say the number of tests. That's really nice. That one's got nothing. $6,471 specs passed. So I guess this is because I'm now adding up the tests. So this is where it doesn't actually make any sense. Or does it? So these are all the different tests for that individual. There's something not quite right with this. Am I looking? I'm probably capturing all of the test results and not the tests themselves. This is where I've got mixed up on the data side of things. So that when I get the tests, I'm looking at the integration test itself and going from there. Get tests for each test. Okay, so I'm getting the last result for each test. So that is right. Get latest test result. That seems very, very high. I mean, maybe we have actually done 7,500 tests on there. If we've got 15 tests, I guess it could be. So interesting. I think that is going to be right then. We'll have to do some future testing on that, but I think the numbers. So we've got not past 14, past 181. So yeah, we've got 195. We've got that. If we have a look in here, yeah, see that's not right at all, is it? We've got 2 tests, and then I click on this. Is this not loading? 2757, 275. Okay, so we've got a discrepancy here because this is just rendering all tests. So this doesn't actually add up at the moment. Okay, that's something to look at. Process equals that. So at the moment, what am I rendering in here? Yeah, so I've only got 2 tests in here, but for some reason it's showing a lot more. Because then each of these tests has the last result, and that's obviously where all the data is. So yeah. I'm going to remind you, if you're enjoying this, leave a like, subscribe. All helps the channel. Thanks a lot. So I just need to figure out why this is loading all of these and not just not just what it needs to. Let's have a quick look at the code actually in here. In c.integration.tests. So for some reason integration is containing a whole load more stuff than I need it to. You can see all of the different tests being rendered here. So let's have a look at where test is being done in our client script. Integration. So selecting an integration, c.integration equals that. So I think that is right. So I'm logging the integrations inside the process. Let's just clear console and have a just play with this. So if I select this, this is the process. I've got 2 active tests. Obviously this is showing a whole load more. So why are they coming through? Just do some more debugging then. So nice little tip here is when you're using console log in the front end on here, you can just do comma, and that will basically, certainly in Chrome, don't know if I've tested it extensively in any other browser, but that will just render 2 comments, so you don't need to do 2 console logs, which is nice. Shorthand. Versus if you did a plus, then that will convert that to a string, which we don't want. Okay. That hasn't actually called it at all. Did I save it? Did I upload it? Maybe this is just not actually working. Or am I setting this somewhere else? No, I'm not. Perhaps I can do it over here as well. Make it really easy for myself, do tons of logging. That's funny how let's just go into the process there. So we haven't selected an integration, okay. Checking integrations, integration undefined, okay. I haven't assigned it yet, idiot. So at the moment that's resetting up there. Probably want to do it. Okay, so Isn't that amazing? I've just added some logs and of course now it's working. So we come back here, let's have a look at this. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. Checking Unify incident. Nope. So why did that fail? So it's basically, okay, so it's setting it to the one that was previously set. Okay. So it's not overwriting it. Checking integration, incident starter. Obviously that's not it. Am I not looping through correctly? So if I come back out to here, select this process, that has changed that process. Select that process. No, it hasn't. Okay, so is it just the process is not being updated correctly? Get myself in a bit of a mess here. Let's figure out exactly what's actually happening. Right, so come back to the dashboard. Let's just go straight back here. Okay, so if I click incident, get one integration. I get Unify incident, incident, incident starter. So the process is working there. If I click Unify incident, it's only updating the URL. You can't see the URL, but it's only adding the integration. And I'm getting a whole load of tests on that, which I think could well be right. You know, we've been testing a lot of different things here, so I'm not surprised by that. I mean, well, it's saying it's got 15 tests, so that is correct. But then if I come to this, 2 tests, because bear in mind these tests are across all integrations. Okay, and that is, okay, that's changing integration equals true. Okay. Something's not quite right with how these are. Okay, for some reason these are rendering as integration equals true. I don't know if you can see on the bottom there, but yeah. Okay. We're rendering this, we're doing integration, pause. So how is that coming across? So integration.sysid is coming out as true for some reason. So that is the only thing there. So why would integration.sysid be true? So in this case, there is integration. Okay, so integration is being set as true for no reason. So that. So this is just not working at the moment. Integration in single processor integrations. So why not passing the sysid back? I think I have, but. Right, okay, so integrations. Oh, that is the integration, is it? Okay. So for some reason we're not getting the integration. So what I just want to check is, am I actually putting the integrations in there? I must be, because I'm pulling them out somewhere. Select integration is asking for integration ID. I'm going to actually do something quickly here. So let's do c.integration equals null. So let's reset it in the event that we're not setting anything. And when we're up here, let's just do console.log. Selected process. Building interfaces like this is always kind of tricky, coming at it from this angle at least anyway. We haven't selected any processes here, so if I look at this, it's still got integration on there, which doesn't make any sense. Do I actually even... I wonder if my... Let's look at process. Okay, so integration is being maintained here. I think I'm going to switch this out and get rid of this one because it's not what the internal directive here essentially is not designed. Well, it will work with this, but it maintains the current variables in the URL. It's designed to work with a different structure. So I think what's happening is when I'm reloading it, it's maintaining, for some reason, integration in the URL. Shouldn't make a difference though. Maybe I just need to fix that. I don't know how I'd fix that. So the easiest thing is probably just to do that. Say that the integration is empty. Integration is being selected there. That's worked. And that hasn't worked. So there's my process, there's my integrations. The sysid is definitely in there. Checking integration, unify incident, nope. Why? So, okay, so now it's worked. This might just be a rabbit hole that isn't, and it's actually fine. Okay, alright. Maybe what I did fixed it with resetting the integration. Okay, so we've got 181, 2 tests, 195 specs. That doesn't add up to 195. My data's wrong somewhere. Let's just get back to building stuff because I can come back and fix the data and not bore everyone with it. So, okay, so let's get this canvas in and look at these. So we're looking at each test result. We've got failed, passed, total. I think Putting another chart on here is fine. Am I interested in any other data? Just bear with me a second. Yeah, so I've got warnings, so that might be nice to actually just include all of that data in a chart. And maybe that's a better way of rendering this, is actually the individual tests themselves. We need to see the warnings, because that's kind of important, so those need to roll up. But actually I could do a chart with all of the different data sets in there. So we're doing total pass, fail, pending, warnings. So I can chart with all of those in, which might be quite nice. So in this case, I think it's going to be best to do, let's just double check this. Panel body. I think if you're on a small screen, it's probably going to be full width. I don't know. Let's try it. So what I want to do is bunch these up a bit more, and then within here, rather than all of this data here, which obviously, so the test, this would normally be the test description. Maybe that's okay to stay there, but I'm not going to worry about doing, I just want it to be on top, I think. And then this stuff, of course, I've got that timestamp in there, so let's keep that. Let's comment that out, and then let's chuck our canvas in. So now we're going to do our gauge for our test dot last result. I think I'm capturing sysid on this. No, I'm not. Okay, so let's capture that there. And then I think I want to, this is a slightly different gauge. This is going to be a load, a test pass gauge. And then, so I'll pass in the last results of that. And from the client perspective, yeah, we need to do the same as above, really, with doing the timeout, so it's got time to load. Then we're going to call that load at. Do our in there, and I think for data set here, it's just going to be test result. And what I want in here then is, let's see, so we've got passed, failed, pending, warnings. So test result got passed, test result got failed, test result dot pending, test result dot warnings. Actually, so the warnings are not. The warnings are kind of separate, because because they're just a number. They're not actually a percentage. So I might want to have, that probably wants to come out above. But anyway, so green, tomato, grey. Just do that. So test result, test pass rate is fine, I think. So passed, failed, ending. Maybe that's fine. So I think that should do that fine. And we're rendering that in here. Should do it, I think. So let's have a play. See what happens. Pretty cool. We've got 26 passed, 3 failed, 5 pending. Okay. And on this one, 100% pass rate. Be interesting to know if I can put a number in the middle. Let's see, axes. The layout's just padding. I don't really care about that. Okay. Because the title can't go in the middle. Don't think I'm going to figure this one out today. I'm sure you can probably set the title in there and then just move it so it looks like it's in the middle. After all, this is all rendering on a canvas. But yeah. Don't really care about much of this. What I'm interested in doing is actually making these clickable. So that might be quite a nice thing to do. At the moment, it doesn't do anything. One thing on these actually at the moment is obviously these are stacking. So let's get rid of that. I've got a row inside a row on this anyway, so I can go there. Okay, so that should mean that they're going to sit side by side now, which will be a nice sort of list to look through all my tests. What I want to add in here as well is the warnings. So I've got the description, and we can put in here P and GF equals test dot last result dot warnings is greater than 0, and then just do class equals text warning. Maybe I want this as a H4 or something. So now if you see that, then you'll know immediately. I'll probably want it under the description, to be honest. So above the pass rate, then it should appear on the left there. Be interesting to know if, like, if you've got a tiny slither, would you even see this? It might be nice to see an actual number as well. Just because if you got like 1,000 tests, obviously that's going to be a very tiny fraction. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so where integration has come from. Let's go and fix that. Oh, okay. That should be... Okay. I think... I don't know why the... I don't know why that's not showing up then, if that's the integration name. To be fair, it's already in the breadcrumbs, so I don't think it's a massive issue. I might just work that out. Just leave that in there. Always come back to that if we need to. So that should probably be a clickable link as well that goes out to the test for us to see. No, we need to render the warnings in here at some point, but I haven't figured out exactly where we're going to do that, so we'll come back to that. Trying to figure out what I want to do next now. So I think we've got the gauges in, we've got the warnings showing up. Probably want to show kind of the state and status, so it's complete and failed or complete and success. That's probably a good one to actually look at there. Just throw those in. So this comes back to actually my pass rate earlier. So I think I can just copy this.